Welcome to Twitch University. Welcome in. How we doing?
Good, good. How you doing, Money?
We're doing great. Make sure y'all could hear Melo D here. Remember, if you have questions for Melo D, I already have some in advance, but exclamation point Q, and then put your question in, and that's where we'll catch him with the questions. So welcome again. I have a couple questions to get us started, and then we'll kind of take audience questions, have a conversation. The first one is, how has your major from college of sociology helped you in your DJ career?
It's actually a great question that I don't have a very good answer for. So to be perfectly honest, when right after I graduated high school, let me backtrack. I started DJing in 1987 at age 14. Graduated high school in 91. So from 87, those 3, 4 years, were kind of like my formative years of DJing. And so when I started college in the early 90s, not only had I had, 4 or 5 years of DJ experience under my belt, but I also, that's when I connected with the Beat Junkies, joined the crew in 92. So DJing and music became like my primary focus. So to answer your question, to be perfectly honest, I literally chose sociology. Well, number one, because I've always been interested in human behavior and intersocial and personal dynamics and whatnot. But it was kind of like, all right, I need to finish school so I can get back to DJing like full time.
Right.
So that was kind of why I chose it. But other than again just playing live sets, all over the world, it I feel like the college experience kind of went hand in hand with my major in the sense that again, like obviously I've for years and years, decades now, I've been in rooms full of people from other cities, other parts of the world, other parts of the country. So it's definitely helped. I think it's helped me in that sense because I've always been more of an introvert. I'm not very outspoken, but it's definitely helped me kind of interact with others, like in my work environment, if you will.
Got it.
So.
Yeah. Now you mentioned how you've been in the game since like the mid 1980s. How about you take us back to when you first saw DJ Curse at a mobile gig and how he had inspired you to start DJing?
Yeah, I'll never forget it. It's like it was yesterday. So this was 1985, and again, in the years prior, this is kind of when breakdancing, hip hop culture made its way out here to the West Coast in the early 1980s. So that was like my first exposure to, the craft and the hip hop culture, right? Records like Malcolm McLaren, Do You Like Scratchin', the Fat Boys, Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie, some of
Yes.
the early electro stuff, Cybertron. Dr. Dre, the World Class Wrecking Crew, and we had KDAY 1580 AM out here. So that was again my first exposure. Again, this is obviously way pre-internet, so there was no visual aids or shows or anything like that. So yeah, the first time I saw an actual live DJ was Curse, and that was 1985 at my junior high school. We used to have school dances. So this was like my very first junior high school dance. And again, this is in, the mid 80s. So out here on the West Coast, it was mobile DJs that would come and provide the music for, these type of events. And that was my first time seeing, two turntables, mixer in the middle, wall of speakers, lighting trestle, bass in your face, just the whole experience. Crates of records, behind the DJ. And I just remember just being there and just being fascinated, technically with what he was doing. And like I said, the whole experience, I'm just taking it all in, like, loud music and the good music that, I grew up on and just seeing, the art of actual DJing. Curse was, scratching, mixing, two
Mm-hmm.
copies, doubles, like just doing it all. So yeah, that was just like, I was instantly hooked.
Now, was it then did you meet Curse, or when did you finally like officially kind of meet him and start to maybe work with him a little bit?
So I always knew of him, and he again was kind of the main guy like in my area where I grew up in Cerritos. His mobile DJ crew was Public Image Music, and so he was doing like all those gigs, the high school dances, the high schools in my area. He was a little older than I. He is a little older than I, so he was doing him and his crew were doing like these big hall parties. Back in the day, they would play for 1,000 plus 18-year-old kids, coming out to party. So I didn't formally get to meet him until I want to say the early 90s, maybe like 91, 92, kind of around that same time,
Mm-hmm.
shortly after I graduated high school. And I think maybe he had kind of heard my name and probably seen me around. I was kind of, like I said, that kid, like kind of standing in the corner, like staring at him awkwardly the whole night while he was DJing. So he probably knew of me, but I didn't formally meet him until, yeah, probably the early 1990s.
All right. So you spoke about how you first got involved and joined the Beat Junkies crew in like '92. We have a question from the audience here in terms of what is your favorite Beat Junkies moment? MC2J-Man has that quote right there. So when you're thinking about moments, what comes to mind?
Oh wow! I mean, we've been DJing together for a long time. 30 years this year. So we've had a lot of special moments in our DJ career. The one that does stand out is winning the 1997 ITF World Championship, the Team World Championship. Just because it was special to win that contest, and I just remember just practicing with J Rock, Babu, Rhetmatic for 2 weeks straight. Like really like putting in the blood, sweat, and tears, trying to crank out this 6-minute routine, trying to really win this competition. We were up against another dope crew from the UK, the Scratch Perverts, and Turnstiles from Canada. So yeah, we were up against some tough competition. So we knew we had to come correct. So that was definitely one of the highlights of being in the Beat Junkies.
Amazing. Sure. And what was like the feeling and the reaction once you finally heard that you won? What were the feelings like?
It was just that moment of elation, just that that thrill of victory, for lack of a better term, if you will. And then just being out there celebrating, what I'm saying, with my brothers, and again, just knowing that we all earned it together. And that was again through a lot of practice, hard work, and creativity, collectively. Like that was really special.
Awesome. What about the mobile DJ scene? I know it was very important to your growth and development as a DJ. Why was that the case?
Again, I'm out here on the West Coast. I'm born and raised out here, SoCal, Los Angeles. But mobile DJing was the thing all throughout the 80s and even into the early mid 90s. That was kind of how DJs you made a name for yourself back in the day. So when I started just how I am now, like just in my bedroom, pretty much DJing for myself, practicing. I had maybe a crate of records, crate or two of records to my name for many years. And then so I think how I got into mobile DJing was my very first crew. We formed in high school. We were called Soundwave Dimensions, and it was myself and 3 friends. And I had only one turntable for a long time. And then my 2 other friends, they kind of had a crew, but they weren't really a DJ crew. But, they had some equipment. I had some equipment. They had some records. I had some records. So that was kind of my introduction to mobile DJing. And same thing, we were doing, high school dances. We did a couple at my high school. And then through word of mouth, again, we did a couple of, 16-year-old birthday parties, 15-year-old birthday parties, a couple of house parties here and there. But mobile DJing was pretty much the platform for just, kind of sharing what you did as a DJ with a live audience. Again, I was probably 15, 16, 17 years old around that time. So I wasn't really mobile, like going out to LA, like doing big clubs or anything. I wasn't even old enough to get into a club. So yeah, doing house parties and kind of private events, if you will, that was kind of the thing. And that really helped me just pretty much gain experience, and build up some confidence to be able to kind of perform or DJ, if you will, in front of a live audience.
Yeah, Krika, I believe that's how you say it. Thank you for the follow. Let me know if I pronounced that right. Shout out to Shortcut in the building.
Short. My brother Shortcut.
Do you remember your first DJ gig, your first mobile gig? And if you do, tell us about it, just so people can understand where you started and where you are now.
Yes, I do. So it was actually, it was a high school dance.
Nice.
It was my junior year of high school. So this was 1990. So it was myself and my crew, Soundwave Dimensions. But yeah, it was exciting because it was funny. Like was really looking forward to actually DJing like in front of my friends, like, people from my class and everybody from my school kind of knew I DJ'd, but never had a chance to actually saw me DJ, and there were even some kids that like didn't even believe me, like, oh, you don't DJ, you don't, you know what I mean? You're not a DJ. And so, but yeah, it was a special moment for me just to be able to, like I said, just kind of perform live. It was just an hour. It was a noon dance. So like an extended lunch, and it was from noon to 1. And yeah, myself and my partners, we DJ'd together, and, there was probably 150, 200 kids like in the room that we were DJing at. So yeah, and then like it was cool. Some of my classmates and friends or other students that I kind of knew, they would come up and kind of like, give me that acknowledgement, like, oh man, you did your thing, So it was cool. It was kind of like, kind of my formally becoming a
Yeah,
DJ, if you will.
yeah, amen. Yeah, great story. Another question from the audience right here. So it comes from Vexation, who I think he's still in the chat. He says, as an established and pioneering artist, what was it like to see the explosion in popularity of DJing towards the end of the 90s and early 2000s?
Oh, that was a very, very exciting time. That was, specifically from like 94, 95, from the mid 90s all the way up until 2000. That was really kind of the peak of turntablism and competition style DJing. DJing quickly became acknowledged as an art form. And I remember being in DJ battles. I remember judging DJ battles and attending DJ battles just as a fan of the craft, and we would literally out here in LA, a DJ battle would fill the House of Blues, like
Mm-hmm.
1,000 people, top and bottom, balcony, and just all the energy, all the excitement in the room, because again, it was a new form of expression, for DJs, and it was a new platform. And again, this is kind of like during the golden era of hip hop, so there's a lot of great independent hip hop coming out at the time. We had record stores like Fat Beats that were selling those kind of records, and supporting DJ culture, MC culture, and again, just being out here on the West Coast, like DJing was, that was easily, looking back, probably the peak of the art form.
Absolutely. So you spoke about competitions. Can you talk about like the competition scene specifically? Was there a time when you lost the competition and how that drove you to be better?
Yes, there was a few. The very first DMC contest I entered was 1994. It was a West Coast eliminations, or West Coast finals,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they were going to pick the top two. Were going to go to the USA finals. So myself, my brother Shortcut, actually ended up winning that one, and my other Beat Junkie brother DJ Babu, I think, got second. So Shortcut and Babu got to fly to New York to compete in the USA finals. So I remember I qualified. I was a finalist, but I didn't make the top two. Obviously, that went to Babu and to Shortcut, rightfully so. But yeah, that was it was kind of a bittersweet moment, if you will,
Right. Yeah.
only because it was exciting. It was my first competition, so the nerves, being on stage, and again being in there with some really really phenomenal DJs, was, yeah, a little unnerving. I was a little nervous and whatnot, but at the same time, it was good for me to kind of step out of my shell and kind of like finally take the stage and step up and compete. And yeah, so I didn't qualify to make it to the USA finals, but it definitely sent me back to the drawing board, if you will. And I worked hard for the next year to come up with more routines, improve my skill set, and yeah, came back again and competed in '95 in San Francisco. And I this time I did make the USA finals. That
Nice.
year, DJ Swamp won.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was another really tough competition. A lot of legends were in that Swamp. Babu, myself, who else? Mr. Sinister, and who else? There was two others I can't remember, but it was six finalists, and yeah, tough competition. But it was just good. I felt like even though I didn't win necessarily, or even place, like what have you, I was definitely earning respect and kind of making a name for myself. And again, just sharing, what I'm saying, like my style and my technical abilities on the
Yeah.
turntable.
Absolutely. Shout out DJ Fade. What's good? DJ Stress TV.
Stress.
Yeah. What's good? Good to see you, sir. In terms, like, there's some people in the audience that still want to be active and get involved in the kind of competition battle scene. What advice would you have for them as it is kind of today's time?
So it's been many years since I've competed, but I will say this about competing. Competing really requires a lot of time and dedication. You really have to pretty much devote, 24/7 to creating and to coming up with ideas. And nowadays with technology, there's just, the possibilities with what you can do technically are just, it's so vast, right? Like so competitions, in my opinion, from what I've seen over the last 10 years, the evolution of competition style DJing, it's really, really notched up big time. So I would say you definitely have to be dedicated. There's going to be moments of frustration where you're going to think of an idea and maybe it's not going to manifest or sound the way you envisioned it. So you're going to have to, be willing to kind of like, be your own worst critic, and just, push through to really come up with ideas and routines that you feel confident in and that you truly love, like that sound good to you, so then you can take them out and perform them and compete. Yeah,
Agreed.
but practice,
Yeah.
practice, and really, like I said, just dedicating, like marrying your turntables, basically, is what's required.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Audience, remember if you're in the chat, hit exclamation point Q, and then you can put a question there. We'll get it on screen for you to ask DJ Melo D. Doomsday Caruso, thank you very much for the follow. We have a lot of new DJs that are in the chat, and they're learning. Some of them are learning at a very rapid pace. What's kind of the typical 2 or 3 pieces of advice you give to a new DJ so that they don't get overwhelmed by all the equipment and learning too fast?
Yeah, I would say kind of start from the beginning. I mean, again, looking back, when I got into DJing, all I wanted to do was scratch. I wanted to learn how to scratch, and mixing came way later. But again, I had no concept of basic music theory. Like I knew it sounded good. I had rhythm. I could mix on beat. But I would say, to answer your question, yes, start from the beginning. Definitely, having a thorough understanding of beats, bars, and phrases. Meaning, like Aziz was doing the looper demo earlier, he was looping in a 4-bar sequence, right? So you have to understand, like, because again, when you go to DJ Live, you're going to need to know, okay, this Wu-Tang record has a 4-bar intro, so I have 4 bars to mix this song into the song that's playing right now. This Tribe Called Quest record has an 8-bar chorus, so I'm going to have those 8 bars to mix out of, this Tribe Called Quest song into the next song that I want to play. And then you also have to understand tempo. Again, just basic music theory, beats per minute, knowing kind of your tempo ranges, knowing programming and selection is important. And that's what's cool about being a DJ, is that, you can literally kind of curate any kind of DJ set that you want. But at the same time, like, you want it to flow seamlessly from song to song. Just because 2 songs are the same BPM, at 100 doesn't necessarily mean that they'll mesh well or sound good together.
Right.
So you have to definitely like pay attention to programming, and again, timing. And then beyond that, yes, obviously, like, again, there's a variety of equipment available for any level DJ now. So just knowing your equipment, being comfortable on it. Even me, I'm using the Pioneer S11, which I love this mixer, but it does so much. I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface,
Yeah.
with its capabilities. But yes, again, just kind of understanding basic music theory, and again, being comfortable and knowing your equipment as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree about learning the equipment. You spoke about beat ranges. What's kind of your recommended beat ranges, and how do you look at mixing in key?
So I don't use mix and key. I've always just played by ear. But tempo ranges, if you're talking about something like scratching, right? So taking myself back to when I learned, and this didn't occur to me until years later as an instructor, but I always encourage students and new DJs, when you're looking to learn a new technique, specifically a scratch, right? It's always good to like just drop way down in tempo. So I always recommend something in the 60 to 70 beat per minute range. So that way you're not, physically feeling overwhelmed or too challenged, or the beat's moving too fast, or faster than your mind can work, So it's just nice to kind of just be able to take your time. And even I'll take a slow beat sometimes and I'll slow it all the way down to -8. Again, just to like, just again, drop the tempo way down so that it's comfortable. You're moving at a nice, easy, seamless kind of pace. And again, you're not feeling too overwhelmed because anything higher than 85, 90 for, I think, new DJs and experienced DJs as well, like you start to really feel the burn, the muscle memory and, working the technique and the mechanics and stuff. So yeah, I always recommend just kind of just taking it nice and slow. And that applies to mixing and beat juggling as well.
Nice. Shout out Misty Christie. Thank you very much for the gifted 3-piece. Appreciate that. If you got a gifted sub for Misty Christie, please tell her thank you. If we go back to when DJ Melo D was at that high school dance, 1990, and give him advice based on what you know now, what advice would you give your younger DJing self? This is one of my favorite questions. I love asking because I feel there's so much to be learned from wisdom and experience, especially in retrospect.
What advice would I give to myself? Thinking back, I just remember really practicing for that hour set. So that would be my advice. Just again, just to drive home how important practice really is. I mean, whether it's a battle a live DJ set, a mixtape, a video. So that would be probably my best advice, would be just to make sure that you're prepared. You know your music. You have an idea of kind of what you want to do, like a general sense of what direction you want to take this set, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, and the music you want to play, at least have that kind of locked in 80-90%. And as you know, like DJing sometimes, like sure, sometimes like you'll veer in a different direction for whatever reason. But yeah, that would be probably my best bit of advice, was just to, yeah, I can't stress how important practice is.
Yeah, absolutely. DJ White Gold, shout out to you. Good to see you. Welcome in
Michael,
to Twitch U. Now, let me see here. Today is Jay Dilla's birthday. Do
yes.
you have a favorite Jay Dilla story you'd like to share with us?
So yeah, I was able to meet Dilla a few times, just briefly in passing. But this was when he moved out here to work with Madlib, and they were releasing music on Stone's Throw. So they did a release party. The one that stands out is they had done a release party over here at, was it the Henry? I think the Henry Fonda Theater in
Okay.
LA. And
Mm-hmm.
again, just through my Beat Junkie brothers, Rhett J Rock, who did a lot of work with Dilla and Madlib also, and Stone's Throw. I was hanging backstage with them, and that was my first chance to meet Dilla. And then, funny enough, one night I was DJing this. I think I don't know if it's still the Continental Room in your area in Fullerton. Is that
Mm.
still there?
Yeah, that's still there.
In
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah.
So I was DJing the Continental Room, and Madlib and Dilla. I have a picture of it somewhere, but Madlib and Dilla just showed up randomly to the Continental Room, which is this small lounge in Fulton, downtown Fullerton, right? And I have a picture of that. So that was cool because we actually got to hang out a little bit and talk, and just so that was probably my fondest memory right there, because I had previously met Dilla at the release party, and then I don't even know if they knew we were DJing, but maybe they did. But yeah, they just showed up out of nowhere, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. Very cool.
So,
Any lessons you might have learned from like watching Dilla, seeing how his career evolved over the years?
I never had a chance to be in the studio with him while he was creating, but again, just through J Rock and Rhett Matic, they would always, Dilla, for all of you guys out there that I'm sure are familiar, he was very famous for having beat tapes. So
Mm-hmm.
this dude was just a lab rat, just making beats like all day long. Like literally, that's all he did, right? Like this guy eat, slept, and breathed just beat making and producing. And again, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying. I mean, he was so dedicated to his craft, and you can hear kind of the evolution of his style and his sound and his influence, on just producers like all over the world. He definitely left a mark for sure.
Yeah.
So I would definitely have to, again, just applaud him for his dedication and his love for music. He was always out digging. I know he would go digging with J Rock, and I think I might have even tagged along once or twice on a record shopping trip or two out here with them. But yeah, he was just very 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 dedicated, and loved music, and loved the art form.
Yeah.
And so yeah, definitely rest in peace to Dilla.
For sure. Absolutely. Dom Garcia, thank you for those bits. Doc Dina, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Twitch University.
Oh, that's my wife.
Oh,
Thanks, honey.
okay. Hey, wifey, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening in. Now we're going to fast forward, and I want to ask you a question. Like, Beat Junkies Institute of Sound was established. I'm curious as to when you're working with students, I find that I learn a lot, just as much from them as they learn from me. What have maybe been two or three things you've learned from your students as they've come to see you at the Beat Junkies Institute of Sound?
So the first thing that comes to mind is it's funny because again, when we opened the institute, this was 2017. So all of us had 20 plus years of DJ experience under our belt. However, we never really thought to articulate it or to explain it or to teach it to anybody. So that, I think, was our biggest hurdle. I know for me that was my biggest hurdle, was really having to explain a scratch, or explain how to mix, like explaining basic music theory and putting it into layman's terms to someone that's completely new to the culture, right? Or to the craft.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest challenge. So I think that, again, is probably the first thing that stands out as far as students helping me, or like them kind of helping me understand, like have a really thorough understanding of what I've been doing all these years, and then how to explain it and pass it on, through various DJ lessons. That, and then the second thing is just the sense of fulfillment that you get as an instructor when you see someone come in. They're brand new, they love music, they've always maybe been curious about DJing, they never had turntables, but to see their their journey and their, their evolution of, their DJ journey evolve, going from just walking in, not knowing anything, to being able to mix and to scratch. Like, we've had some students that they've turned into really, really dope DJs.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool to see, just knowing that, again, like, we played a part in their, in their education, if you will,
Yeah.
and in the fact that they're great DJs now.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two things that stand out.
Shout out to Mr. Chalk, who was my instructor at Scratch Academy. He's there with you now, Beat Junkies Institute of Sound. For people who don't know what Beat Junkies Institute of Sound is, maybe explain to the chat what it is and how they can find out more information.
Sure. So the Beat Junkie Institute of Sound is our actual DJ school. We have a brick and mortar DJ school here. We teach classes 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday, for all levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We do offer specialized master classes a couple times a year. And you can check us out at www.beatjunkiesound.com. Beatjunkiesound.com. And we're in Glendale, California, just north of Dodger Stadium.
Yes. I put the link in the chat. Also share with us just how you have the online classes every day at 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yes. And for anybody outside the greater Los Angeles area, we do offer online instruction. That's beatjunkies.tv. So www.beatjunkies.tv. And thank you, Amani. We do a live interactive class 7 days a week. That's called Homeroom. And actually this week, we are actually just for free, we're promoting on our Twitch channel. So if you want to follow Beat Junkies, twitch.tv/BeatJunkies, you can catch us every day. This week, doing Homeroom Live, you can kind of get a sense of what we do. But again, lessons for all levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced. So that's every day, 3 p.m. PST, beatjunkies.tv. Every Monday, that class is taught by Rhetmatic. Tuesdays with Mr. Chalk. Wednesdays is J-Rock. Thursdays is Babu. Fridays, Shortcut and DJ Dynamics rotate every other Friday. I teach every Saturday at 3 p.m. and then D Styles teaches advanced scratching every Sunday at 3 p.m.
Yes.
BeatJunkies.tv.
Tremendous.
And if you happen to miss it, all of those classes, they do live in an archive. So we've got well over 1,000+ videos, a ton of content. We've got a podcast on that website as well called Building Better DJs, where we talk shop all the time, all things DJ culture, hip hop, music history, turntablism, etc. So a lot of really cool content on there. And right now we're running a special. If you buy 1 year at beatjunkies.com, we give you 1 year free at beatjunkies.tv. BeatJunkies.com is our online music service.
Amazing. Yes, we'll add all the links there. Stress TV, thank you for the bits. Alex, thank you for those Chicago bits. We have a hype train, level 1, 38%. 3.5 minutes left. DJ Buddy Lee, welcome in. Thank you for joining us. A question from the chat from our very own Stress TV. He says, how do you balance the presentation of your precise and amazing skills and your personality here on Twitch? Such a great show. Very entertaining.
Thank you, Stress. That's funny. Man, shout out to my brother Stress. He's definitely, I think, one of the most, if not the most entertaining DJ on Twitch that I've seen over the last 2 years.
We won't disagree with that. Yes.
yeah, for sure. Always a good time in Twitch. In Stress's channel.
Yes.
Yeah, again, I think we were talking before we started the show, Monty, but the cool thing for me about this platform, I think my favorite thing is that it's truly finally a place where you can just be yourself, as a DJ, as a tastemaker, as a selector, and people that have tuned into my shows know that I play a pretty wide range of music. Obviously, classic hip hop and R&B is a big part of that. But yeah, I get to play a lot of music that I would never, ever in a million years be able to get away with at a live venue. So to speak. So, growing up out here, so, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll feel like playing 80s new wave or even pop music, or, I play rock sets sometimes, soul, funk, R&B, disco. So that, and then, again, just the fact that there's, live interactive chat, it's just cool. It's just a cool way to engage and get a little more of that interpersonal dynamic, even though it is virtual, that you can't necessarily get at a live venue, and I think the other great thing about it is that it really, really finally is a place where it actually puts a proper spotlight on actually what we do as DJs, right? So people can actually see you DJing. If I'm doing something special as is was a manual loop, going back and forth, I can show that. If I want to do a scratch solo, I can share that with my audience. Whereas you can't really get that again in a nightclub. People can, they'll hear the music, they'll hear what you're doing, but they're not really there to watch you DJ. You know what I mean? They're there to party and dance. And sure, they might glance up at the DJ booth or walk over for a curious minute or two, but beyond that, it's not like this where this is an actual show, like a proper platform. So
Right.
so yeah, like that's again, I can take breaks and talk to the audience. I'll let an instrumental play for 7 minutes sometimes and just banter with the chat. So it's a lot of fun. So yeah, shout out to all the DJs that have been throwing down here on Twitch for the last year and a half. It's a lot of fun to cultivate kind of your own community, but also I've been exposed to a lot of DJs that
Yeah.
I never knew of. And yeah, so yeah, it's cool to like be able to jump in and support each other that way
Yeah.
and listen to music.
I agree. Keep sending in those audience questions, exclamation point Q, and that'll pop up for me and I'll get it here. DJ Fayed has a question for you. He wants to know how instrumental was Jesse Dean in setting up the school?
Oh, Jesse Dean. Yeah, shout out to Jesse Dean. He built our workstations. So we have 12 workstations, 12 student workstations at the school. So he custom built all the furniture for us, so that did all the engraving, our logo, so that obviously helps out with branding. He was very key in just helping us accessorize, deck out the school, just portable turntables. All you guys that know Jesse, like, there's nothing that he can't do. So basically, like, yeah, he was a big part. So shout out to Jesse Dean for coming through and helping us get the school together.
Yes, yes. Thank y'all for that hype train love. Nerd Chris, thank you for the bits. Missy Chrissy, thank you for the bits. Appreciate all the love and just really your attention today as we have this interview here. So we have another question coming up, this time White Gold. How close is poker to music in terms of passion?
It's a close second. I've been just a recreational poker player for a long time, probably 20 years now. But I don't get to play as much as I used to, just having a family and whatnot. But it's kind of like my golf, if you will. A lot of guys like take up a hobby, so that's kind of my hobby outside of DJing. I actually went to play this last Friday for a bit, and that was actually my first time playing in 2022. I lost a little, but it happens. But yeah, I enjoy it. There's so many layers and levels to the game. It's truly unlike any other, anything else you can find in a casino, right? Like when you're playing blackjack or craps, like you're betting against the house. Well, poker is a game of people, so you're playing against other personalities, and basically it's just you're trying to size up your opponent. And no two games are ever going to be the same because you're always going to sit with a different mix of people.
Right.
And especially out here in LA, the games can be very, very good because you get people like myself that, they come in, they play recreationally, but they have, disposable income. A lot of guys out here are entrepreneurs. They own their own businesses, but they enjoy the game just as much. And, the social aspect too. I really enjoy the camaraderie and just the competition. Again, just trying to outwit your opponents. So, yeah, I love it.
Exactly. Now, I do have to compliment you. You're really, really strong and tight with regards to business and the DJ business. In your opinion, why do many DJs struggle with the business side of the work so frequently?
That's a great question. I think that all comes through experience. I think thinking back, using myself as an example, when I got my first couple of gigs, it was almost like I would say yes to anything again because I was so anxious and excited. I just wanted to get out of my house and just show people what I can do. I wanted to DJ for people. So I think that's to be considered. Also, I think once you kind of get past that kind of paying your dues kind of phase, then you have to really stop and look at your worth and be willing to stand your ground. Whether it's a live DJ offer or a side project or a consulting job or whatever the case may be, you really have to kind of like sit there and kind of sometimes just literally write it down on paper, what you think your worth is. Sometimes it's good to bring a manager on board or, I've worked with a couple different agencies over the years. And of course for that, they will take a management or an agent fee, but at the same time, they will help bring you more DJ work if that's what you're looking to do, if you're looking to go out and DJ live. So I think that's definitely important. I think that's probably the most important thing is you have to acknowledge what you're worth, and then you have to, be willing to say no sometimes, like when you feel the offer is not an appropriate one.
Yeah. Saying
It's
no.
okay to say no.
Yes.
It's okay to say no.
It is okay. And it takes a while to learn that because, as you said, many times you just want to take any and all gigs, and that just doesn't work out in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, continue on this business line of discussion, we see the IPA, the beer, it's coming soon. What inspired you to create the IPA, and what other products or markets are you looking to get into in the future?
So yeah, shout out to Beer Tape Hip Hop Craft. So they actually reached out to us. For those of you that don't know, they've actually collaborated for the last couple of years. I want to say they've collaborated with just different hip hop artists. So they created a craft beer with Visionaries, who's Rhetmatic's hip hop crew. So they did a craft beer with the Visionaries. They did one Bucktown Hazy IPA. They did one with the Funk Freaks, who's another mobile DJ crew out here in Santa Ana. Shout out to the Funk Freaks. And then yeah, they reached out to us, and I really think that they kind of discovered they thought about collaborating with us through Twitch. They saw us, like just DJing on Twitch and reached out. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So that's a shameless plug real quick. That's coming out Sunday, February the 20th.
Yes.
They're going to be released the first time that the beer will be available to the public. And we're doing a release event. It's going to be from 2 to 6 p.m. That's happening at the Aero Lodge Brewing Company in Covina, California. So yeah, if you're anybody's around the greater Los Angeles area, we'll all be in the house. The whole crew will be there. We're going to have 4 turntables set up. We're all going to, rotate, take turns. So DJ Curse, Icy Ice, Rhetmatic, myself, my brother Shortcut, D Styles, Mr. Chalk, J Rock. Yeah, we'll all be there just throwing down. So come out, have a brew, and say what up. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. February 20th, Sunday.
Yeah. Awesome. Another question from the audience. This is from Vexation again. He says, where do you see DJing progressing in the next decade, and why do you feel this way?
Whew. So on the one hand, it's been very cool to kind of see the evolution of DJing. Again, starting out in the 80s and even throughout like the early 90s, up until pretty much that turntablist explosion that we were talking about words back. DJing was very underground, in my opinion. And it wasn't until kind of like that mid 90s, late 90s when, again, kind of like the art of turntablism and, you had all these competitions and DJs were finally getting recognized as actual artists, as performance artists. And it's been really cool to see that. And then I feel like over the last 10 plus years, maybe almost the last 2 decades now, with the evolution of technology, it's really opened up. It's done a lot to expose DJing on some other levels that we never got to see before as DJs. So now you have DJs in television commercials, and it's not that uncommon anymore to see a DJ sit in with a band on like a late night talk show, perform with the band. A lot of obviously hip hop artists will and continue to work with DJs, but it's just been really cool just to see DJing just come into its own and be acknowledged as a true, like I said, performance art.
Yeah.
So I would love to see it continue growing, and I think Twitch has been a blessing for that too. Twitch was obviously, as we all know, like pretty much a gaming platform, and then once everything shut down, it quickly became a place where DJs would come and do their thing. So I think that's done a lot to kind of help expose DJing like in a good way. So hopefully, yeah, we'll continue to see it grow, and DJs will finally be recognized for, like I said, true performance art.
Yeah, absolutely. Pure Piano 89, welcome in. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about Twitch because that's kind of where we are, where we talk about. But I'm curious, how has Twitch helped you personally and professionally?
So personally, again, going back, like I said, mentioned words back, like I've always kind of been like an introvert. So I think that's kind of why I gravitated towards DJing, because I tried everything. I tried breakdancing, wasn't good. I tried like graffiti, like I sucked. I'm not like I'm not nice with the pen. I tried like writing rhymes, but rapping's not my thing. So I think DJing, like it's like that one thing where you can speak with your hands, like you don't have to, And even when I started doing nightclubs, I was never really one to like be heavy on the mic. Like I would jump in here and there, but even that took me like a few years to like really get comfortable, like cracking the mic here and there. So Twitch has definitely helped me in that regard, in the sense that yes, like you have to acknowledge your audience, address your audience. So it's kind of helped me get over that. I've always had a fear of public speaking, even in school. Like I never liked, doing class presentations or science projects or book reports. Like, I always wanted to go last, like just don't pick me today, type thing. So Twitch has really helped me get over that hump and just kind of be more comfortable, just speaking. And, professionally, yeah, I think it's done a lot to, as we were saying with Twitch, just kind of, maybe create some more awareness about who I am, what I do, obviously the Beat Junkies, and everything that we have going on, from our DJ school out here in Glendale, our online DJ school, our music service. And it's just kind kind of help my brand evolve, if you will,
Yeah,
and grow.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Um, we talk a lot about R&B music on the stream, so I have to ask you like my $1 million question I ask almost every guest, and I kind of talked to you about it before the show, but it's like since 2004, there have been no black R&B groups on the Billboard charts. Why do you think that's the case, and what do you see in the future for R&B groups?
R&B groups.
Yes.
Hmm. I didn't know that. Number one, that's interesting. Number two, I feel like again a lot of that maybe has to do with technology because it's so easy now to fancy yourself or even become a creator. Just with people creating their own Twitch channel or their own YouTube. So I think we're seeing a lot more solo artists. I don't know if there are any black solo artists that have
Mm-hmm.
made the Billboard
Yeah.
charts, but yeah, I don't really hear about too many groups, but a lot of the new music coming out, now that I think about it, that we're talking about it really does come from solo artists.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like to form an actual group and to have a successful group, like there's a lot of things that have to kind of happen perfectly, right? Obviously, like chemistry, synergy. You have to share kind of like the same creative vision, and it's not that easy to click with people nowadays. And it's much easier, I think. I think it's well, I shouldn't say that. I think it's much easier to just if you have an idea, you pretty much if you have a laptop, and access to the internet, like you pretty much have all the tools you need like at your fingertips to start creating. So maybe that has something to do with it. But again, I'm speculating, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I grew up on R&B, played a lot of it on the radio.
Yeah.
Big fan, and I still have a healthy collection of R&B records behind me. So yeah, no, I would definitely love to see more black R&B groups.
Yeah, we'll let you know the results of the survey in the second book when it comes out. DJ Alize, welcome in. Good to see you here. We had another final kind of question from the audience here, and then I want to ask you another thing about Twitch. Actually, I'll ask you the Twitch one first. Now that you've been streaming on Twitch for over a year, almost 2 years, what's the one piece of technology that you can't live without anymore, based on what you've used for streaming?
So I would have to say my PC, my PC tower.
Yeah.
I've been prior to streaming here on Twitch, I've been a Mac user, an avid Mac user my entire life, and I've never ever owned a PC or had to use one. But yeah, I quickly learned. At one point early on, probably for the first 6 months, I was running two Macs. I was using one Mac to stream, and then I was using another Mac to run Serato and actually DJ with. And shout out to EVGA and my brother Arabian Prince came through and helped me get set up and kind of educated me on what is required to stream. So obviously, like, yeah, I had to invest in the PC and a few cameras and lights and audio interface and but yeah, I would say like my PC probably would be the one piece of equipment I can't live without.
Yeah, I agree. And Raven Prince hooked me up also. Now we have this one question. Let me see here if I can put it up there. I'm gonna show it there. It's wants to say like, what is your most requested song? And maybe you can say both in real life and what's a song that's always requested on Twitch.
So my squad on Twitch, they're pretty cool. They kind of like once in a while they'll drop requests, but nothing that really stands out as being like the most requested song. Again, because I play such a wide range of music, I feel like whatever pocket that I'm in will spark an idea for them. Like if I'm playing like 90s hip hop and I play an album cut like a Fat Joe B-side remix or something like that, that'll remind somebody. And you know what I mean? Like sometimes they'll come up with some really cool suggestions, but again, nothing that really comes to mind off top. But they're pretty good about just sitting back and just letting me kind of do my thing and enjoying the music. So I can't think of a song that would be the most requested, but I definitely got a serious handful of requests when I was working in Vegas, doing you get the people that come up to you with
phones.
Phone in your
Yes,
face. Yeah.
yes,
So,
yes.
so yeah. But I mean, anything and everything. And again, like Vegas being a very commercial market, I was playing a lot of just whatever was current at the time, top 40. So any of the biggest songs over the last 10 years, Drake comes to mind. Like, people always come up asking for Drake. And then EDM, when EDM blew up around 2010 and 11, people will come up and ask for, some of the more notable producers, Sidney Sampson. Oh my God, there's so many. Tiesto, whatever was out at the time.
Right.
You had people that really loved dance music, so they would come up and ask for that stuff. But nothing that really stands out like as the most requested. So
Okay.
again, I think people have different tastes and like different kinds of music. So
Yeah.
you know.
All right. So here's another question. I don't know why it's not showing up here. So it's DJ Fade says, "What sound card or audio interface do you use for Twitch streaming?"
Oh, so I use the Focusrite.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, oops, sorry. You guys can see it, but it's this
Yeah.
guy right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the standard, pretty much the standard. I know a lot of DJs have been using this one, but this is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2.
Yep.
Really
Yeah.
dope audio interface, really clean, great quality sound, input output. So you can connect your DJ gear input and then output to your speaker monitor, what have you. So yeah, I think it's around $200 or
Yeah.
$250 or something like that. So small investment, but well worth it.
Excellent. Yeah. Agreed. All right. So as we kind of come to a close interview, I always do word association. So I'm going to read you a phrase or a word, and you have to tell me the first thing that comes to mind with it.
Okay.
The first phrase or words, the Baker Boys.
Power 106,
Yes. Turntablism.
scratching.
Vibe TV.
Ooh, Chris Spencer. He was
90.
the host. He was the original host.
Yes, he was. 92.3 The Beat.
Julio G.
Cerritos.
Hometown.
Beat Junkies.
Founded 1992.
Amen. All right, that's good right there. Why don't you share with us the next time you're streaming and kind of let us know so we can make sure to tune into your stream. Official DJ Alex J. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, when's your next stream?
So again, I think I was maybe we were talking about this off camera, but I kind of stream like when I can. Pretty busy. Father of three over here. We have a lot going on. But I do a show, a morning pop up called the AM Workshop. But I do that again sporadically, kind of when I can. But I try and do the 2 of those a week. So my best days for that are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So yeah, maybe tomorrow morning I usually fire that up around 10 a.m. and DJ for maybe 2 hours, and it's time to close everything down and go pick up the kids from school. But yeah, the AM Workshop tomorrow, that's on my channel, twitch.tv/DJ Melo D.
Love it. My final question is like for you to maybe share a message. A lot of times we have DJs here that have maybe hit a plateau or they might be afraid to get started. So I would love for you to just share some words, maybe of encouragement or just advice for those who have hit a plateau, afraid to get started, just so they can kind of not give up. So I'll ask you that as the final question and see what you have to share with us.
Sure. So yeah, that's again, that's pretty common. I know, speaking for myself, I've hit a ton of walls like over the course of my DJ career. But however, as discouraging and frustrating as it can be, don't let it stop you. Because eventually you will find a way to work through that, whatever the hurdle is. And a lot of times, believe it or not, what's healthy is to kind of take a break. Sometimes I feel like, as much as I love DJing and I love music, sometimes, I think those walls, it's good to kind of just unplug for a day or two, and then come back, fresh, maybe a little rested. Maybe the ideas will start free flowing a little better than they did. And yeah, eventually you'll work your way through. And the second thing I would say about DJing or anything, whatever you choose for your life's work, you truly do have to love it. You really have to love, the craft itself. You obviously have to love music. You have to be dedicated. And to be good at anything, you have to put in the work, right? You have to put in the time. Again, really truly love what you do. There's an expression, you find something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yes,
Right.
indeed.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, those would be probably the two biggest bits of advice that I would give to any DJ,
Yeah.
new DJ, experienced DJ, veteran DJ. Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Is there anything you're looking to like learn? Like, what's next for you to learn? Because I'm curious for someone of like your stature. Like, what are you looking to learn next?
So I spend a lot of time practicing. I'm down here a lot, but I'm always looking to kind of just number one, just stay polished, right? Just to stay sharp with my existing skill set. But I'm always trying to, experiment and kind of think outside the box a little bit of how I can evolve kind of my style, maybe expand, the techniques that I have at my disposal in my arsenal, kind of build upon those. So I've come up with a few things in the last specifically year and a half, like live streaming, that I've like, stumbled on, like accidentally, kind of like those happy mistakes, and they've turned into something,
Yes.
which I'm pretty happy about. So stuff like that, again, just really trying to expand like on my technique and just become better. Because I truly look at DJing and being an artist, being a musician or a creator of any sort. There's really, I don't really believe there's a finish line to this, right? I've been DJing well over 30 years now, and I still feel like there's a ton of things I could still learn. Like
Yeah.
we can always be better at what we do.
Mhm.
So again, but that's only going to come through dedication, practice, putting in the hours, on the actual turntables to improve my existing style. So
Agree. Awesome. We'll give you some applause for that one right there. I'm going to let you guide the raid so you can pick someone who you want us to raid. And I'm going to shout out some people in the chat. So first of all, thanks to DJ Melo D and thanks to DJ As Is for joining us and sharing a lot of their wisdom and expertise. Appreciate that. Thanks to my mods. We have Songbird, Misty Christie, Alex, CC, London TV. Holly is with us. She's on vacation, so thanks to my mods.